might be the most important domains to focus on in the years ahead? It's not a simple question. And there is no simple answer because we know the needs are many. There is a multitude of possible priorities. But might not some have more potential to leverage systemic change than others? That's a question for us. And I'm going to try and provoke that discussion by exploring 6 priorities that I think should be on the list. I'm not saying they're true, but I would like to see them on the list. Okay. 3 focus on basic needs. Food, energy, and shelter. Now think about these. Each is fundamental to securing human well-being. Each can help us address the ecological problems threatening people and planet. Each has solidarity economy innovations that we can build on, that we can spread, that we can scale. Each is crucial if we are to learn to live within limits. And within each of these sectors, the crises are deepening, more people are hurting, and indignance is growing. If we are going to be smart about systems change, we need to consider these factors. And in addition to these basic needs, I suggest we need to consider 3 of the critical functions we have to strengthen within our own movement and in solidarity and collaboration with others to strengthen our capacity in order to make headway faster and more effectively. First, we must vigorously work to bring finance home from the market. If we are to succeed in the transition from the growth imperative to living equitably and within our means, how we mobilize and deploy finance is of central importance. Second, the privatization of the commons that just seems to go on and on must begin to be rolled back. Gaining more control of the commons is fundamental to restoring our access to the gifts of the earth for the community benefit rather than private profit. Third, we must push hard to move. You're doing good, thanks. We must push hard to move from shareholder to stakeholder ownership, from corporate imperative to maximize profit to the transition imperative to maximize mutual benefit and cooperation. Democratization and localization of ownership is important if we are to equitably share and if we are to capture the surplus for reinvestment in the difficult transition we must navigate in the communities and regions and countries we live in. I want now to share a couple of examples to illustrate how paying attention to how we weave these priorities together is critically important. My hometown of Vancouver is one of the most expensive housing markets in the world. Affordability is a crisis affecting more and more people year on year. So too is the political pressure to do something about it. More supply, the argument of developers, is a joke. A new 600 square foot apartment near downtown is running around $500,000 Canadian. That's about 21 million pesos. The rent for a room and access to a kitchen to cook where I recently lived was $900 a month. That's 37,000 pesos for a room. In January last year, the mayor appointed a task force to try and figure out some new strategies. I was among the 12 appointed. The dominant representation was from private developers. I entered the fray to argue for the piloting of a community land trust, an alternative land tenure where affordability can be secured in perpetuity because the land is out of the market and is controlled by a multi-stakeholder nonprofit with a commitment to social goal of ensuring affordability in perpetuity. The evidence is there, and we were taking it and wanting to extend it into this crazy, expensive place. Make a long story short, we got in the final report, the community land trust is a pilot. What emerged is what emerged was a social, what we call a social public partnership. So you can see there on the top right that the city had the land and they had a need, and the Social Solidarity Economy actors, through the Co-op Housing Federation of British Columbia, had one of these land trusts that some visionaries had put in place 20 years earlier that was sitting there ready, willing, and able to receive this land if the deal could be struck. Okay. The core of the deal up there is a 99-year lease. The lease goes to the land trust, which holds it for the purpose of then organizing a series of partners, which you can see down there below, 3 nonprofits and a co-op housing group, and they sublease to these partners. The value of that lease, if it were in the market and the city were selling it out, is $23 million. What they provided was $22 million investment in this project by virtue of selling the lease at a much lower rate. The subleases then flow to these partners. 3 of them are nonprofits. One of them is a co-op. Right? And they, just stay there. And they're able to, they've worked out a deal. I'm kind of mixed up here a little bit. But they worked out a deal where that lease and the overall cooperation and structure of all of these partners in one overall strategy has enabled them to have the market rentals and the value of the city's investment all flow through to the low-income people who are living in those 277 units. So you've got solidarity built right into the heart of the business model. You've got solidarity built right into the heart of the land tenure and how it's held. The market cannot take over. It's insulated for the values and for the goals of creating a larger and larger space for people who can then live in the city. The results are pretty impressive. Out of this, we have rentals for people with disabilities, for people who are low-income, moderate-income seniors and singles, for low and moderate-income families. They are coming in 19 to 26% of highest rate for affordability that the provincial government has put forward. If the 3-bedroom were put out in the market, the cost of that rental would be 250 times greater. Think about that. 250 times greater. Land reform, land out of the market, right? Coupled with a business model of expressing one's life and income and having it flow so it's shared. My friends, I think this is the solidarity economy at work. The financing and the team, which is made up of Co-op Housing Federation, Van City Savings. Van City Savings is coming to the table with there's 68 million that still has to be financed, but they're coming to the table with part of it, and we have already opened the conversations with the Public Pension Fund to bring that money to the table so they have a partner to approach. Okay.